there, Vicky here. Today I am making blackberry glazed chicken. So, seems easy enough. Let's get started and see how it goes. First things first, I preheated my oven. I had this chicken thawing from the freezer in a bowl of water for a couple of hours. So I took it out there and I went ahead and seasoned it with salt and pepper. I did have to wash my hands in between because I touched raw chicken. Raw chicken is gross. Okay, just getting that out there. So I seasoned it, I think, just with salt initially. And then I started in on the sauce. So this is a pint of blackberries, white wine vinegar, sugar. Can't remember what else went in here, but I will try to link the recipe in the description down below. Then I added the pepper to that chicken. I had to wash my hands again. I am gently mashing the berries at that point just to get them starting to break down. But ultimately, I waited a few minutes. So this is maybe 5 minutes later. I really wasn't expecting the blackberries to turn red like that. I don't know. I guess I've never cooked blackberries before, but wasn't expecting it. Regardless, once they did cook for about 5 minutes, I was able to mash them really well, and so I did. And I just used my little potato masher to do that, and it was very quick and easy to do so. Now, the recipe called for the sauce to reduce down to like 2 tablespoons. So I knew this was going to take a while. So I just kind of left that be, and here we are, maybe another 5 minutes later, and it had started to reduce and foam a little bit, and I turned the heat down on my burner at this point because I was worried that it was really getting a little too warm. But then I went ahead and mashed it just a little bit more. I wanted the rest of the berries to break down so that I got the maximum amount of that blackberry flavor without, you know, having big chunks of fruit in it. Now, one thing that I did not do, that I would definitely recommend in hindsight, is to strain this sauce. So, what I wish I had done is maybe even at this stage, just strained all the seeds out, and then continued to cook down just the liquid that came out of those blackberries. I left everything in, and because I put this on chicken that did have bones, every time we took a bite, and it had the seeds, we were paranoid that it was bone. So it was just not the best experience. Don't know that I fully recommend leaving the seeds in there. I wouldn't do that if I were gonna ever make this again. But otherwise, the sauce didn't take all that long. I want to say maybe 10 to 15 minutes total from start to finish on that. Once it was reduced enough to my liking, I just cut the heat. I did not reduce it all the way down to 2 tablespoons. That felt a little excessive. Um, but I did, reduce it a fair amount. And I did cut the heat way down to low, just to prevent it from really evaporating too much. And then at the like final step here, I added butter to this sauce, and it really made it glossy, and the texture became a lot silkier, creamier by doing that. So that was the last step of the sauce. Here I am adding mustard. I think the recipe called for Dijon, but I put spicy brown mustard in there because that's what I had on hand. So I did end up just separating out about a third of this sauce into that cup. And that's because I was brushing this on chicken that was not fully cooked. I am kind of paranoid about food safety when it comes to raw chicken, and I did not want the brush that I was using to touch anything other than other raw chicken juices, right? So I used the separate little cup, and then I came over to my sink and I washed my brush because I wanted to use my brush again, but right now it's like contaminated with the raw chicken juices. Hope that makes sense. So here I am separating out yet another about a third of this sauce into a little cup, and I also washed my meat thermometer at that time. Um, I needed to cook the other or cover the other half of the other side of the chicken with the glaze. So I ended up pulling out my little wire cooling rack, and I put the chicken on that, and so that I could flip it and glaze the other side. Um, in hindsight, I wish I had just applied the glaze sooner in the cooking process so that the top would have had more of that kind of caramelized sugar flavor that glazes have. As it stands, it really just didn't develop that by the time that it was ready to come out of the oven. And I did not overcook these. Like I could have probably, because it's dark meat, it's chicken thighs and drumsticks, I probably could have cooked this another 5 minutes and maybe the sauce would have developed a little more, but I took them out, and when I measured it with the thermometer, the biggest piece was measuring at exactly 165, which is what I was hoping for. And then the other pieces were already at like 170, the smaller ones. So I didn't want to cook the chicken to death. So, this is kind of where it ended up. If I were to make this recipe again, I would strain the sauce so there were no seeds. I would apply the sauce earlier in the cooking process so it had an opportunity to really form a glaze on it. Um, and I would at least start there and see if that helped the recipe along some. If I had a grill, this would probably be really great on the grill, but I don't. So this is what the finished plate looked like. We did eat it, but as it stands, it was not a crowd favorite.